What is a scene from a TV show that really disturbed you? MASH, when the lady killed her baby so the enemy wouldn't hear it and kill everyone on the bus. Hawkeye tried to convince himself it was a chicken in his mind but finally admitted it as he was the one who told her to keep the baby quiet. I oddly think about this scene multiple times a year. And I'm not even a MASH fan. Same, I never watched MASH regularly but saw that episode when I was a kid and still think about from time to time. That scene really stuck with me. The episode of Breaking Bad where Pinkman finds the little redhead kid in the meth house. The thing that kills me the most about that episode is when the kid gets up all by himself and turns on the TV, then just sits there. That is that kid's life. #X200B, not only that, but the kid is unfazed by Jesse being there because he's used to drugged out strangers being over at the house. #X200B, the mom using him as a shield accessory is a close second. The whole thing is so ducked. Parent your duckin' kid, that was the moment I realized that I really liked Jesse as a character. Throughout the show, Jesse's biggest soft spot was kids. Why do you think he hated Todd so much? The scene where they are dismantling Tarantula Kid's bike as an allegory to basically what they had to do to his Badura stuff. I hadn't put that together until now. Wow, that's rough. That absolutely batshit insane episode of X-Files with the inbred family living on the farm that had sex with their deformed, amputee mother, helped her give birth, and buried the dead fetuses in the backyard. Edit, episode is called Home and it's with the Peacock family. Had to dig that one out of my repressed memories because that episode scarred me as a kid. I was 12-ish and watching an episode of Chi at home with my best friend. I hadn't seen many episodes but this episode was about a missing child. The mother was heartbroken, had kept his room exactly as it was the day he went missing. Well, it turned out that she was suffering from postpartum psychosis and had murdered him and buried him in the backyard. She was devastated when they proved she had murdered him as she had no memory of it. My mom was suffering from severe postpartum depression at that time after having my younger brother and had been in and out of the hospital. That episode was so extremely disturbing, upsetting, and terrifying to me, I felt like I had been physically punched in the stomach. I found the mom's story so profoundly sad but also couldn't get the fear of that story out of my head for a long time. Ada, oh my goodness, thank you for the awards and upvotes. Perinatal mental health is something that I'm super passionate about now. I'm a labor and delivery nurse now and every single one of my patients gets a talk before discharge about things to be concerned about, when to seek help, the stigma of perinatal anxiety, depression, etc. Check in on people that you know who are pregnant, had a baby, and partners too. And please reach out for help if you think it's a problem for you. Breaking Bad, when the kid on the bicycle, edit, dirt bike, discover Walt, Jesse and Todd were performing the train heist and Walt and Jesse are stunned and don't know what to do so Todd takes over and kills the kid. Definitely a turning point when Jesse realizes just how far over his head he is in and his existence is pure dread and only gets worse, as it does for them all. It was made even more shocking because that episode in general was relatively lighthearted up to that point, with the three of them working perfectly together to rob a train without anyone knowing it was happening. They get away with it and everyone is celebrating, and then everything falls apart in the span of about 10 seconds. In The Tudors. The botched execution of Thomas Cromwell because Henry Cavill got the executioner drunk. 7 or 8 tries to kill a man promised a clean death was pretty chilling. History tells us that was pretty close to how it happened too. Dude, back then, you wanted the executioner sober and well paid. Yep. People paid $1 for an executioner who knew their shit. Severance pay. Therese, an episode of Fringe where a guy is trying to bring a dead girl back to life by stealing all of her donated organs back from people, and in one scene he hooks her corpse up to a bunch of ropes he is connected to a machine and makes it do a ballet dance. Awesome scene, really well done, but super ducked up. Was scrolling to see if someone else said Fringe. For me it was that opening scene where one woman had a radioactive device EW that made the entire restaurant start bleeding from their eyesall orifices before exploding. It was just so startling and weirdly unavoidable. When Buffy finds her mom dead. For a show full of crazy supernatural elements, that moment was just so realistic and relatable for so many people. When she is on the phone to 911, she's cold, should I make her warm? Oh man. I cry every time. When she's going, Mom. Mommy? That gets me, hell it gets me even more so now that my own mother is gone. Scrubs, my lunch, where Dr. Cox loses 4 patients. Just rips your heart apart, but also shows the epic quality of acting within the show. And he only pulls out of it because JD tells him he would have made the same call, and that if he is still this upset about his patients dying, then that means he is a good doctor, and that's how JD wants to be in the future. Such a great show. The last scene in the 2nd episode of Chernobyl, where they have to go into the water. I hated that so much. And the view from halfway down from BoJack Horseman. I was not ready for that emotionally. Edited to add, I think Time's Arrow might be my favorite episode in the show, which a lot of people have brought up. But it never really hit me as disturbing. For me, that episode added an entire extra world to that series, but it wasn't disturbing. I also love Stupid Piece of Shit, just because the writing is just brilliant. Breaking Bad, where Walter let Jess's girlfriend Jane die by choking on her own vomit in her sleep. He could have so easily saved her. Edit, although there were plenty of shocking moments, this was the real turning point in the series for me. This marked the point when his character and the series got really dark. Bad guys killing good guys and good guys killing bad guys is pretty standard fare. However, when a character that you thought was a pretty good guy kills someone who was basically a good guy, or at least not a bad guy, that's always disturbing, especially in this case, somehow. Breaking Bad, when Todd killed Andrea in front of Jesse. Made my gut drop to the center of the earth just seeing Jesse scream in pain. Aaron Paul acted the hell out of that scene. Aaron Paul acted the hell out of that entire series. Game of Thrones. Talisa getting stabbed in her pregnant belly in the Red Wedding episode. The infamy of that episode kind of underplays how disturbing and cruel it felt. I was in shock for a couple days afterwards. I just watched GOT like a month ago. I knew it was coming, and I was still in shock at the brutality and how many important characters they took out. Made me mad too. When the guy locks the door, and I realized who was about to die, I screamed no. In Heroes, when Sylar breaks into Claire's home, overpowers her, cuts open her head and rubs his finger along her brain to take her power. All while she is immobilized on the coffee table and unable to die because of her healing ability. Dude, Sylar was such a good bad guy. The pig scene from Black Mirror's national anthem. For those who don't know, the Prime Minister was blackmailed into having sex with a pig on national television in order for terrorists to release a princess they kidnapped. Icing on the trash cake? She was released 30 minutes before he had sex with the pig and he had no idea. Oberyn's head on God. Yuck. I was negotiating with myself during that scene. When the mountain smashes his teeth out, and I'm like, well, he's a little ducked up but he could survive that. Then it was like, well, now he's blind, that's not good, but he could make it. Then finally it was, nope, he's dead. Jesse Pinkman's scene with the young boy on the couch in Peekaboo. Knowing that kids live like that hurts me inside. I had a friend whose mom was a crack addict, and looking back I remember so much ducked up shit about being at his house. I had a childhood friend who I just recently learned lived like this. My mom wouldn't let me go to her house and I never understood why. She could come over to my house or we could go like to the park together, but that was it. I finally asked my mom about it recently and she told me that was why. I do remember seeing the police there a lot. One day the house burned down and I never saw her again. I still think about her and really hope she turned out okay. Honestly, the rape scene in Rick Morty was pretty unsettling. Didn't see it coming at all. Glad Rick shot him. In The Boys, anytime Homelander drinks milk. I was literally squeamish at those scenes and I never am bothered by movies. The one that disturbed me was when he just starts lasering a crowd full of people. Turns out it was just in his head, but it really spells out how terrifying he is as a character. The X-Files episode Home. My husband had never seen an episode of X-Files. It comes on some station one afternoon, and he decides to watch. What episode do you suppose it was? Home. I could never convince him that the whole show wasn't like this, and to this day he refuses to even be in the room if X-Files is on. Dude, the same thing happened to me. Except I was 7 years old and terrified of the prospect of aliens and alien abductions, so therefore was scared shitless of the X-Files. Eventually, I summoned up enough courage to tune in one night, the night that Home premiered. Got about halfway through it. When the brothers broke into the sheriff's house, beat the husband to death with his own baseball bat, then dragged the wife out from under the bed by her ankles, I noped the duck off of that channel and never looked back.